Hello, I'm Garrett Ewald from South Lakes High School, and this is Frank Carroll, a volunteer fireman with Navy Vale and McLean volunteer fire companies. Frank, I wonder if you can give us a little idea about what got you started in volunteer firework, and what are most of the people like that you work with?
Well, generally, we're all just regular sorts of people. I got started about 2.5 years ago when, well, actually, it's one of those things that you wanted to do ever since you were a little kid, but never had the guts to go up and ask about it, ask how to get in. And about 2.5 years ago, I befriended a fellow that worked in the same place that I did, and he was a volunteer fireman in the McLean department, which happened to be right across the street. And one day, I worked up the courage to go up to him and say, when are you going to show me what a firefighter does? And the following month, I found myself a member of the department.
How long have you been serving then, since you started?
Well, I started in October, about a year, 2.5 years ago.
You work with both companies this time, or?
Well, to an extent. I haven't, since I've started working here in Reston exclusively. I used to work across the street from McLean, but now I work strictly here in Reston, and the McLean station is so far away that I don't really get down there very often, so I tend to work primarily with Navy Vale.
So, let's say when you started, it was several years ago, what would it entail now to get started in a volunteer fire company? Somebody that's interested.
Pretty much the same thing as I went through. First thing you should do is to contact either a volunteer member of a company, preferably one that's not too far away from where you live, and possibly the chief of the department. And the chief or the member, you usually have to go through the chief, will discuss with you what's involved, or tell you the various types of training that are necessary. And you are, depending on the department, sometimes you are accepted directly in. Some departments will accept an application, and that application is read in at the first meeting and is held over for 30 days, and then they have a second reading on the application. And at that point, you are either voted in or voted out. Most companies, at this point, you become what is referred to as a red hat. In fact, the hats that we use are actually red now. And you're on a 1 year's probation. During the 1 year probation period, you're required to take a series of courses. The courses are free to qualified persons who have passed a physical examination, which is also free, supplied by the county. And the courses are held down at the Fairfax County Fire Training Center, which is on West Ox Road, just this side of the county sanitary landfill. The courses include such things as water practices, how to handle ladders, how to use the Scott apparatus, which is the artificial breathing apparatus with the face mask and the oxygen bottle, which is slightly wrong. It's actually just a compressed air bottle. How to handle yourself in a fire, what the different hand tools are used for, how to use the power tools. Altogether, the courses last a period of 6 months. You take 4 courses over 1 weekend a month. Assuming that you can catch all of them, you should be finished after the 6-month period, at which point, assuming that you finish them, you become referred to as a black hat, and the county issues your gear. Up to this time, you're using what is referred to as grab rack gear, which is just old, usually not fitting gear, which is just satisfactory to get you around from the grab rack. It's obvious enough. And once you become a black hat, the county will issue a complete set of gear. And that gear is yours until such time as either you drop out of the fire department or it becomes damaged beyond repair, in which case the county will replace it.
After the period where you're no longer a red hat and you become a black hat, what are your responsibilities then?
Well, at that point, you are considered to be a full-fledged firefighter. You still have one more course to have to complete, And this is something that you have to do on your own. You have to either pass an advanced first aid course, which is a 32-hour course, which you can get from any number of places, such as the Red Cross teaches one.
Also free, or?
If you happen to take it from the Red Cross, it's free. If you happen to take it from some schools which offer it, like I believe Nova has an advanced first aid course, it costs. Or you must become an EMT, standing for Emergency Medical Technician. The EMT course is basically a college course, which, depending on which department you happen to work for, if you pass the course, they will generally, some departments will reimburse you for the amount you spend on it. The EMT course can run anything from $90 to a couple $100, depending on where you take it. This all has to be done within the first year. If that's not completed, then the county will request that your gear be returned. Generally, they don't push it too hard. They give you a couple of years to do that. In fact, I didn't finish my advanced first aid until after I was almost into my second year. I finished it last summer. After the basic training period is complete, you are considered a full-fledged fire and rescue person. You are required at various companies to do everything that a professional firefighter would do.
Well, with the equipment then, you say, what is the full set of equipment? You brought some along with you. Could we take a look at that?
Sure. Well, let's start here.
Okay.
This is the helmet. This particular one is manufactured by a company called Kearns. It's got some number to it that I can't remember. This is the standard piece of the standard helmet, which is issued to all Fairfax County people. The tag on the front, it says, obviously it says Fairfax County. If you happen to be a volunteer, it will have the name of your station underneath here. Otherwise, it will have, if you're professional, it will have something on there such as firefighter or firefighter 2, or your rank, captain, chief, whatever it may be. The chiefs all have white helmets, and everything below them uses the yellow helmet.
The red
until you get to the red helmet.
They have a red helmet for the red hats.
We do have red helmets now.
Look at the other equipment that you brought.
Okay. Yeah, this is the complete array of equipment which is issued by the county to both paid and volunteer firefighters. These are called the 3/4 boots. I keep the cans in here because a lot of times when the boots lay over, after a period of time it will mash down, and that makes it very difficult to get your foot into it very quickly, which is incredibly important, being able to get the stuff on fast. Here's the coat, or more commonly referred to as a running coat. It's relatively heavy, and as you can see on the back there, it says Fairfax County Fire Department, or something like that, which it does belong to Fairfax County.
The reflective is to make you more visible at night?
In fact, if when a car is coming along, this stuff is incredibly reflective. It's even more reflective than the road signs you see, and there is no way that somebody can accidentally miss not seeing a firefighter standing there unless he happens to be drunk or something, which is an occasional problem. The coat, actually the coat and the bunker pants over there are made of 3 different layers. The outer layer is made of a fire-resistant material called Nomex. There's no such thing as fireproof anything. Everything will either burn or melt. The Nomex is the most flexible cloth material that anybody has come up with that is of
abrasion proof.
Abrasion proof. It's very tough. It doesn't want to burn as quickly as such fibers as cotton and so forth. Just underneath the outer coat is what is called the duck, and this is a vapor barrier which is made out of a plastic type material. I'm not sure of exactly what it is, but it's a form of plastic. And this keeps the water, which will be obviously you're going to get wet when you're trying to fight a fire, and it also helps keep steam and other such dangerous materials off of you, and it's very, very protective. The inside of the duck's got a nice soft material on it, and then you have the inner lining, which is made out of nylon, which incidentally is the one material that is man-made. Between the man-made and natural materials, this has the highest burning temperature. It won't ignite until almost 800 degrees, but in a regular fire, you can very, very easily find temperatures up to 2,000 degrees in just a regular house.
And this last piece here is?
The last piece here is referred to, I keep stepping on the cord here, it's referred to as the bunker pants and half boots. These are what the firefighter uses at night. In the daytime, the three-quarter boot pulls up and protects the leg up to the hip. But at night, when you're sleeping in the bunk, you don't have anything but your underwear on. This inside of this thing is not the most comfortable material, and you also need something to keep the heat away. The rubber is from the boots is a very good protective material, but it doesn't help the heat very much. If you were to put this directly, or put a bare leg in here, you could very, very easily get badly burned. And of course it is rubber, it will burn in itself. So they have the bunker pants, which when you jump into, everybody's seen these things and pictures and so forth sitting at the bottom of the bed, or the bunk beds in the firehouse. You jump into this thing and pull it up, and
would you mind if I gave it a try to see how it fits?
On the bunker pants, what size shoe do you wear?
10, I believe.
10. This will probably be a little tight, because I wear a 9.
I can probably make it.
This is one difficulty with these things, that generally they're difficult to pull back down unless you put your feet into it. Pants, yeah. That's okay. They generally, most of the time, you don't fall over. Okay, just pull it up there. It's not intended to go over your trousers. Ever wonder why firemen wear red suspenders? Yeah, that's my size, and yeah. I'm rather small. Matter of fact, I had to wait a week while they back ordered those.
This is the kind of stuff that you wouldn't do when you're getting dressed, but after you're on the road or getting going.
Well, the bunker pants you put on just after you jump out of bed. That's the first thing you jump into. Generally, you wear a pair of socks of some sort, and your underwear, undershirt, underpants, and then jump right into that. Occasionally, if you happen to be taking a shower in the evening, you don't end up with anything underneath it, and it's very uncomfortable that way.
I feel about 2 inches shorter in this. It's so heavy, like lead or something.
It is quite heavy, but it's the most protective material that and outfit that has been come up with, and very, very fast to put on when you really know what's going on. And you're probably very, very tight because you've got your pants on underneath it.
Yeah.
And it's not intended for that purpose.
Well, you brought some films with your tapes that we could see about the training and some of the things that you do, the heavy rescue work. I was wondering we could take a look at that.
Okay.
You might explain a little bit about them.
All right, we'll look at those.
We're back here on the set watching a tape that Frank Harrell here has put together from work that he has done, and demonstrating some of the tools that he uses at Navy Vale. Frank, why don't you give us a little background on this piece of equipment? How did you manage to afford this?
Well, this is actually in McLean, Company 1. Navy Vale also has a squad. This is called the squad truck, and I tend to refer to it as a heavy rescue piece. It's most of its operation is intended for heavy conditions where you need large, powerful tools and so forth. This particular one they're pulling out there is what is called the hearse tool, or sometimes the jaws of life. McLean bought its squad. Actually, most of the squads in the county, of which I believe there are about 5, were purchased with volunteer department donation funds from citizens around the country, the county. When usually every year the firefighters will come and knock on the doors or send letters out, sometimes twice a year, to ask for donations to help operate the company. The Hearst tool there is very expensive. I believe now it's running around $27,000. And the squad truck that McLean bought there was $120,000. And every bit of it had to come from donations. The squad is an extremely useful piece, as you can begin to see there. It's a little difficult to get in edgewise. The firefighters are so intent on what they're doing that you see there, it just sort of pries the door right off. It used to be, some years back, when someone was in a car accident. This is simulated, incidentally. It's not a real one. This was done last open house at McLean during National Fire Prevention Week last October. They were pulling the windshield off.
About the donations, dude, it seems like around Navy Vale now, with the population changing with Weston and things like that, do you have trouble raising enough money to afford things?
Oh, Navy Vale has always been a small company. We have had trouble recently because the county has been building some fire stations in the vicinity. They built Company 31 down at Fox Mill, and of course 25 is there. And they're beginning to, particularly when Company 31 came along, it cut out a lot of our area, which we used to derive donations from. We still send letters out to most residents in Reston asking for donations because we are within what is referred to as the first due area in Reston on our squad truck. Our squad at Navy Vale is a bit smaller than this one, but if a car accident occurs anywhere in the Reston vicinity or a major fire occurs, and Squad 21 is called to the scene. Here's another use on the Hearst tool. This particular victim was supposed to be trapped under the steering column, so they just fastened the chain around the front and just sort of pulled the steering wheel out of the way. The Hearst tool has 2,000 pounds per square inch of force at the tips. As you work your way up closer to the piece of machinery, the force gets stronger and stronger. It can literally tear the door off very easily or pull the steering wheel up. Some other uses of the Hearst tool is what I was about to mention, that it used to be that if someone was in a car accident, they had to get the person out of the car. Nowadays, instead of doing that, we take the car apart from around the person, depending, of course, on how badly injured they happen to be. This particular case, they weren't too terribly bad off, so we were able to take them out through the door. But in some cases, you have to take the roof off. The Hearst tool has an adapter which fits on like a pair of scissors, and it just sort of cuts the vertical posts which hold the roof on, just cuts right through them. It's an amazing tool, and in many accidents, there's just no way of getting the person out without something like the Hearst tool. In fact, it's so useful that many of the county companies are now beginning to order and purchase Hearst tools. And Company 25 here in Reston, and I believe also Company 4 have ordered Hearst tools, of course being purchased by county funds this time. And that is going to improve the services to the people here in Reston tremendously.
In the same way that you have lost regions to gain money from the, donations and things, has it also diminished your resources for volunteers? Are you finding less and less people coming out? Or?
Not really. Actually, I believe right now we're having more people come out for volunteer than ever before. A lot of them do not stick around, but the average number of volunteers which apply, or people that apply for volunteer work, has been increasing. We just had, a couple of months ago, we had 2 people right here from Reston who applied. One of them looks like is going to be really into it quite a bit.
As well, you said that they don't necessarily stay around that long. How about how long is the usual tenure of a volunteer fireman?
Well, it's going to depend on whether they're actually into the idea. A lot of people think they would like to try it, but they find out very quickly after they join, frequently within the first meeting, that it really wasn't what they thought it was going to be like, and they drop out. For the person who really seems to be serious, they can vary anywhere from a year to 10 or 15 years. We have most of the people that are in the department at Navy Vale right now are under 20 and have been with us for 2 or 3 years.
Well, okay, then it's not as with the Fairfax County firefighters. They get paid and all, and their ranks are established by how long they stay around and their competency. But how do you establish a rank in a volunteer fire department?
The chief elects the individual member depending on how much training they've had, how proficient they seem to be at what they're doing. It's essentially up to the chief and the board of directors. The individual volunteer fire departments are actually corporations. They're non-profit corporations, but they operate just as a company. They have to raise money to run. They have to elect a board of directors. They have to elect secretaries and all of this sort of stuff, and actually run just like any other company would. And they can also go bankrupt. We've had a few of them in Fairfax which have done that.
And then they were replaced by a full-fledged county department?
Generally, the ones that have gone bankrupt turned the company over to the county for operation.
Does anybody at Navy Vale or McLean get paid by the county?
We have what is referred to as a minimum manning at the station. At McLean, the minimum manning is 9, and you will have up to 13 or 14 professional paid firefighters by the county at any one time. No fewer than 9. At Navy Vale, the minimum is 3 and up to about 5. This is very good because it ensures that there's going to be people on duty at all times, and they will be able to respond to the call, wherever it may be, much quicker than if the volunteers had to respond from work. First, they would have to go to the station, get the piece of equipment, and then go to the fire or accident or whatever it may be.
So they usually take jobs like driving the engine and things like that?
Everybody is assigned the, be it professional or volunteer, as soon as they, actually that's a bad term to try to use. The volunteers don't like to refer to the paid people as professionals. Of course, the professionals don't like to do it otherwise, but we tend to call them paid personnel and volunteers. However, it's going to depend on what the definition of a professional is how do you talk it, or how you name them. But regardless of whoever is in the station, each person is assigned at the beginning of the shift as to what they're going to be riding on, and that's the position they ride. Like in Navy Vale, we have 2 pumpers, an ambulance, a jeep, and a squad. And obviously 3 people can't man all of that equipment. So what they generally do is to assign one person 2 or 3 positions, and they take off onto that position which is most important. Like if they have a fire, they generally take the first pumper out.
Do you get a lot of cooperation from your employers and going on calls while are you not assigned to work when you're working in your regular jobs?
Most of the time we don't, because in Fairfax County, because we do have the connection between, or we do have the paid personnel on duty, and that's one of the reasons. When the first companies began to hire people, they were paid by the volunteer companies just for that purpose, so that the volunteers didn't have to leave their job. I believe we have another tape which we might want to look at now.
Well, it involves in training? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, it's a training tape. It's called The Training of a Firefighter. It was done at the training center about 6 months ago. Involved various volunteer members from Navy Vale, Greater Springfield Volunteer Fire Department, I believe it had some people from the Fairfax City Volunteer Fire Department, and it had a few professional paid firefighters from around. I believe one of the ladder trucks from the west end of the county was called in.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it.
Find a victim in there? Yeah. Got him out? Where'd y'all bring him out for? What side of the Okay, one thing that didn't happen is nobody out front heard about the victim being out. We just save a victim, make sure word gets out to where the ambulance crew or somebody else not inside the fire could be to come take care of him. As for ventilating on that, one thing you guys did was you always want to ventilate from the top down, okay? So you should have started clear at the top and opened those two windows and it worked down. What I saw you guys do was go up to the second floor, open that first window, then come back on the fire escape and open the second window. That can be dangerous. If the fire would have erupted out of that first window, you guys would have been trapped up there, no way to get down. You would have to figure out another way. So you always want to ventilate from your highest point down. That's one good thing a truck company can do for you. Once the engine company finds the fire, you want to work your ventilation so you aren't going to increase the fire. I mean, ventilate over it. If the fire is near a window, go ahead and open that window and they'll blow it right out. Yeah, and the windows could have been opened up a little bit quicker, I think. But all in all, I thought you did a pretty good job. Great places!
Drills of this type enable the firefighter to understand conditions found in real emergencies. This is Frank Harrell reporting for Channel 8 from the Fairfax County Fire Training Center.
Well, Frank, there's only really two more things I can think to say to you is thank you for coming and telling us all about the volunteer fire department. And how fast can you get into your running gear?
Well, let's see here.